All right. Few things before I start off this video. I'm sorry about the lighting right now. I don't know if it'll work better with the light on or off, but right now I'm just going to try it with the light off, even though I know it's probably causing some fuzziness on the screen. Two, I am not feeling well at all. I'm not trying to use that as some sort of, I don't know why I'm worrying about guilt trippy method, like just so that my wording seems more understandable. But I mentioned briefly in the last TooMuchTalkingTwink video, which yes, for now I'm going to be just sticking with that title. Not clever, I know, but that's what I've got right now. My chronic health issues have not been great the last few days, especially the brain fog, the memory problems. And if you can hear right now, some speech problems. I don't know if you can see, I don't know if you can notice it. But if I mix up words in this video, or something in terms of articulation comes out sort of choppy, that's why. Because again, I'm not going to try and not do a whole lot of editing with these ones, more so just try and streamline. And three, if you can hear music right now, which I'm actually hoping that you can, so that this video doesn't potentially get another copyright claim on it, or worse, a copy strike, because I really don't want to have to put the labeled artists in the description. Like, again, even though I don't have a problem with that, but I just don't really feel it's necessary for this video, because that, sorry, I just, bottom line is, a family member of mine is just playing some tunes in another room. So, yeah, oh, and I guess a fourth thing. I'm sorry if I also seem a bit rushed in this, because I have a little, I guess I'll say, get-together that I'm having to attend in a little while. I've got to run a few errands beforehand before doing that. But yeah, so that's just the way I wanted to start this off, I guess, just by saying that. And this, I guess another reason that I don't seem very lively or I won't seem terribly lively in this TTMT video, abbreviation of TooMuchTalkingTwink or whatever the hell, is because I guess something pertaining to this video is a bit of a delicate topic. That's mainly because for this video, I should explain. I actually wasn't, the topic for this video, I actually wasn't planning on doing just yet. Like, talking about, like, just to get a discussion going in the comments, or just to share my thoughts or an opinion on it. I was originally planning on doing this about maybe 2 or 3 episodes of this, call it episode, whatever, videos in of TooMuchTalkingTwink, whatever, this socio-political talking point videos. I was planning on maybe doing a few videos down. I was originally going to try and upload some more skits, just little comedic videos, ideas that I wanted to put into place or have, just upload them before making a few more of these episodes, because you've noticed I haven't uploaded for maybe 3 weeks at the most, 2 weeks, somewhere around there. Didn't check when the last one was. Again, brain fog, memory problems right now. And even then, after I'd upload those skits, I was originally gonna do the second episode of this, second video of this series, relating to disagreements and differences of opinion, just in general of how people interact, having different thoughts on things, and how to be respectful or trying to be respectful to one another, and why we shouldn't ultimately kill each other over a difference of opinion. And then I was also potentially maybe going to talk about my health issues or dealing with chronic health. Or I was going to make this one before that, or this one after that. But either way, I hadn't planned this one to be the next video in this series. And why I'm going on about this, because the topic for this video, what I wanted to talk about, is idolization of really just anything, whether it be an artist, someone in your life. I guess technically it could pertain to an object as well. I don't know with that. But more specifically, I guess, as well, idolization of artists. And what I mean by artists, like entertainers of any kind. And also, I should mention, there's going to be probably a little announcement, again, at the end of this video. I know the last one had one as well. But other things have happened in my life recently. Just, sorry, can't always predict when things happen. So whatever, there'll be an announcement of some kind. And again, I doubt, obviously at this current time, nobody really watches this, so I doubt anyone really cares. So, it's just my getting it out there. Anyway, pertaining to idolization of people in the media, just entertainers in general, storytellers, actors maybe specifically could be one of them, writers, comedians, whatever it may be. And also dealing with the topic of separating the art from the artist, or just the idea, can you separate art from the artist? And so in terms of that little bit right there, separating the art from the artist, I'm just going to get out there and say my first quick little thought on that. Should you and can you separate the art from the artist in whatever format it is, whether it's film, video game, show, book, music, play, whatever, stand-up comic, whatever it may be? Yes, I absolutely think that you can, and in many instances should, separate the art from the artist. And I will explain more on that in a minute, or try to at least. And in terms of idolization of just people in general, do I think it is a good thing? No. I generally, just personally, and just really statistically speaking most often, idolization of anyone can very much lead to a very unhealthy view of said person or even group of people, whoever or whatever you're idolizing. And this, honestly, it doesn't even really just pertain, like I said, with objects, or I guess this isn't an object, but idolization can also come into play, obviously, with idealism, or what your ideology is, or philosophy even, or people you follow, say maybe in politics, or just people who have their own visions of the world or how things should be. And I can say as well, following an ideology You can obviously identify as whatever you want. Again, I even said in the last video, I identify as a libertarian communist. And obviously, I know many people, even probably people who I admire, will find that absolutely ridiculous. And I'll have a video explaining my beliefs towards communism, true, proper communism, and the falsehood of, I'll call it fake communism, later on. And again, you don't have to agree with me. That's another video I want to get done, is disagreements. But anyway, you can identify as what you want and should have every right to, no matter what it is, at least in my opinion. But you have to realize that if you do truly follow an ideology, you don't need, and really in many instances, depending on the philosophy or ideology, shouldn't follow every single little thing that that ideology says or commands as a principle. You can have disagreements with people who you think have proposed great ideas for how society and the world should possibly work to make it fair and just for everyone. And I'll get more into that in a separate thing. But the same thing also, again, applies to artists. And I hear people a lot of times, especially at my age, like late teens, early 20s, even younger as well. And even just, there are full-blown people way far into their adulthood, middle age, even some elderly people, though I will admit less, who have an idealistic view of people or a certain belief. And that can be pretty detrimental in many instances. And I especially bring this up because of with separating the art from the artist. There are a multitude of times where people love someone for what they've created. And also maybe as a creator for ideals that they have and beliefs that they have or that probably share with them. And they put them, the fans, I'll say, put them on a pedestal, and basically in sort of like a reverse way of what we're used to, I guess, in most of not just the Western world, but even cultures all over the world, societal-wise. No, I'm not just speaking in just traditional terms. They put them on a pedestal, and it's almost like a reverse version of dehumanization, at least to me, because I do think that at the very least excessive idolization of a person is dehumanizing. Because, how do I say this? You're basically making it out to say that they can do no wrong, which is completely untrue. Artists are just as much human beings that are capable of flaw and poor judgment and saying something that they don't mean to say as any other person on the planet. They're not above anyone just because in, say, a capitalist world or in the fake communist world or even in a socialist world, because they're richer or more wealthy, whatever, more famous, and depending on your definition of fame, their image that they present to themselves, say online, or just in TV or in the media. And it can give you a very bad impression of how that person really is, or how to actually, even if you ever meet them, interact with them, or just viewing other artists or people who maybe in your life eventually do become successful. And again, that varies in definition. And I'm not saying that it's not the artist's. Even if the artist is a fantastic person, it's obviously not their fault if someone gets that impression of them, like, oh my god, these people are amazing and can't do any wrong at all, and like, I love them, I love everything about them. It's not obviously the artist's fault if it comes across that way, even if the artist or influencer, that word for that context is pretty stupid. But I'll use it just because most people are aware of it. The influencer, even if they are a vain, egotistical, self-centered piece of shit, and I know that might sound harsh, but yeah, there are people that are like that. But even in that context, even if they're being completely vain and vapid and everything, like in the way they portray themselves, it's still not ultimately their fault how the person perceives them, at least through the lens of what they've shown on camera. Obviously, people in the right mind can get an impression of who they are, possibly, somewhat, from what they've shown, obviously. But you have to, and this goes for whether you love or even hate someone, which I do. There are people that I say that in entertainment that are some of my favorite creators and that I've seen interviews of and tried as much as I can to know things about them from other people who are in their lives, who've done interviews and talked about them, just to know about their lives. Obviously not in a stalking sense, that's pushing so many boundaries. But it also, and there are people who from filmed personalities that I hate. And I know that's a harsh word, or people that I'm just lukewarm on, or I don't think are very good people, or just ignorant idiots. But no matter which one of those views you have on a person, okay, let's just use the example of if you love a person, because that's kind of what I'm getting at with, like, idolization. If you view someone, and even if you're not a fan, like that's, like, so obsessed, just obsessive over someone, like, completely, what's the word? Completely overtaken by a love of this person, how they've shown themselves. Even if you're someone who's of rational thought and knows that, okay, I really love this person, I don't worship them, but I love what they're doing. Maybe they're doing some good stuff for charities or things like that, or making really good art, making really good arguments to try and get people to think better, or whatever else. Say, oh, I love this person for what they're doing. You have to realize that that love only goes to a certain extent. Like, for example, I'm just going to use one of my, I'm not going to call them an idol, because again, talking about idolization, I don't think it's healthy to idolize people. Someone who is, though, one of my favorite just creators in general, Donald Glover, or as some of you may know him as Childish Gambino, for his rapping and just musician career. I think from what I've seen of not just his work, him in interviews, and just what from people around him in his everyday life have talked about him, I think he's a fantastic guy. He's done a lot for charity, different work. He's also raising a lot of socio-political issues in a lot of his own work, and also just in general, just his everyday life and other things he's doing in media. Like, one of my favorite shows of all time so far is Atlanta, that he's created, which is only at season 2 right now. I need a season 3, for fuck's sake, please. Yeah, sorry, I wanted to give, I guess, a bit of humor in there for this more heavier subject that I'm about to get into. Anyway, I feel comfortable saying that I love Donald Glover as a person. But, again, I have to realize that love of him as a fan only goes so far. I don't know every single thing that Donald has done in his life. I don't know his regrets, if he has any, what small things he's ashamed of, or things that he's not ashamed of that he may have done that accidentally or purposefully screwed someone over. I don't know. And I have to realize that because I'm not a part of his immediate life, and even people in his immediate life don't always will know every single thing about his life too. Like, say, from childhood or teenhood or whatever else. And I bring this up because there are issues, again, with separating the art from the artist that can get complicated. Now, I'm just going to say this right now. If you want to contextualize the art with the artist, there's no problem in that either. If there is there can be merit in contextualizing someone's work with themselves, because obviously, to a certain extent, and I know this from like my own writing. Again, I'm not trying to flaunt my writing or whatever. My own work of writing plots for video games that I hope to get made into actual games one day, that certain things about your own life pretty well almost always are guaranteed to bleed in somewhat into your work. Like, it's not even really just for art, just even in just everyday what you do. Say, what's another example? A sandwich artist, a culinary artist. You could say that how they make food, how they prepare a dish, is obviously, well, okay, obviously it's heavily, what am I saying? It's heavily influenced by their own experiences with cooking, obviously, and how they've learned to craft certain things with it. Obviously, pretty well everything that someone does will, and especially in art, will bleed into what they do as a career. But again, that's contextualizing the art with the artist if you want to. That's perfectly fine. Okay, let me just move for a second because the sun is going down if you can't tell, but it's okay, it's 4:55. Yes, I said colon phonetically correct. Come at me. Okay, I may have a skit about that again, and maybe even do a talking point on that. Nah, maybe not. No, whatever. Anyway, I don't know why I brought that up. It's so stupid. What I'm getting at is, though sometimes it can be hard, especially if you've once idolized someone, which I don't think is healthy, but in terms of separating the art from the artist, it can get a bit hard to separate their work from them, especially in the context possibly of a stand-up comedian, where they might technically use a lot of their own, like, they themselves as a person or as a character, they might use a lot of their own personality and experiences in their humor. And I bring this up because right now, for this video, and again, I think I'm going to have to chop it into, I'm going to have to stop recording, then start again, and then splice them together, because my camera will only allow me to record for, I think, about a maximum of 33 minutes. I've said this before. But anyway, I'm going to try and bring up 3 examples where it could get a bit iffy and where pretty well everything... And one thing I would also mention is a lot of things is everything is pretty well circumstantial for many things. So it depends on certain outcomes. I'm sorry. Okay, again, that didn't really make much sense. Words, the chronic health problems. And also, just before I get going on that as well, there's another thing I want to mention. Just because as well you idolize... No, okay, no, wait. No, I shouldn't have said that. Just because you like someone's work, again, I've said this already, doesn't mean you agree with everything they say. That pertains to people that you follow as well, like subscribe to on YouTube or any sort of social media, or posts that they like. You don't have to agree with every single thing that they say in it. God, that was a bad one. It actually, you know what? I'll get more into that into the disagreements video. But just stating that you don't have to agree with every single thing they say, or even a majority of it, to like the post or feel the need to subscribe to them. You're interested in their content, and probably, from what you've seen of them, like them as people. Anyway, to my 3 points. Why I'm a bit more, I guess, say, docile in this video is this first example I'll bring up of possibility of separating the art from the artist. I'm sure many of you who are just avid users of YouTube, or even in the, oh shit, nearly hit my phone out of my hand. Avid users of YouTube, or just, I guess if you're a fan of the, what do I call it? The sketch comedy content of YouTube, of a certain kind, I guess, similar to possibly some of the stuff that I upload. You may be familiar with a name called Gus Johnson. And I'm sure if there are many... Sorry, that was just my watch. Hold on. Okay, that's better. Sorry, I just had to tell... I was just telling someone in my household playing the music to please maybe go in another room or farther away, just so possibility of a copyright claim doesn't come into play here. And I also figured I'd just turn on the light now because it's getting dark. So, yeah. Anyway, I'm sure you're familiar with the name of Gus Johnson. And by this point in time, and I know I'm kind of late to the game on this one. There's no fucking game. Just, I'm kind of late to the issue on this. But it's something that I did discover recently. And from what I've seen on YouTube, or just on the internet in general, like in terms of content creation, I haven't seen a lot of a perspective from a now technically former fan of his, the content, like in terms of the content on YouTube. I haven't seen a whole lot of that. So I'm not going to go into the whole situation with Gus Johnson completely here, like in its depth entirety. If you want to know more about that, I will leave a link in the description of this video to check out a video, or possibly two videos. One video by his now former ex-girlfriend, Sabrina, who I've just recently, this is one of the reasons I bring this up, I just recently discovered her channel and ended up loving her content. And now I've subscribed to her because I want to support her work. And also another person who did a very, very good talking point video on the situation. And also, actually, you know what? That just brought up to mind three. There's 3 videos I'll leave links to. There's one where Abelina also met with a gynecologist, who's also a YouTuber. And it was a very, extremely good video. So I will leave links to that in the description for you to get a better understanding of the situation. But from just a quick, briefest possible rundown of what I guess in my experience happened, I was just scrolling through YouTube literally maybe a week or so ago. 2 weeks, a week and a half, I'll say. And I was looking at Gus Johnson's stuff and even still, I find so many of his videos absolutely hilarious. He's a fantastic comedian, and I still love so many of his videos. And then I decided, hey, you know what? He does. I remember before from a few other comedy sketches that his brother Sven Johnson had done that he has a girlfriend named Abelina who also has a YouTube channel that I've neglected so far to check out. So I thought, you know what? I'm just looking around for maybe some more content I enjoy. So I'll go check out her channel. And I did. And I ended up loving a whole ton of her content, enough to make me want to subscribe, to keep notified with whatever she uploads. And also just to follow her as a person and support her content and support her as a person. And then, though, as I was looking through her channel, I came across now in the whole community of their whole community, I'll just say, I came across the video of her ectopic pregnancy. And I started watching it. And it felt like, and I know, again, I said about idolization, and I don't personally idolize people, but with this whole video, I will say it really did feel like a dagger through the heart. Do you know what I mean? And I think fans of Gus Johnson can relate to that as well, that it felt just very, very saddening just to hear this. And I'm not blaming Sabrina at all. Her content is amazing. And that story, what she shared, is extremely brave of her to do. And I thank her profusely for it and her choice to do that. That is an extremely brave and incredible thing that she did. She chose to do. But it doesn't make the situation any less sad, obviously. And again, I'm not involved in their personal circle. And again, I don't obviously fully know Sabrina herself as a person. But again, just from what I've seen, I fully trust the video. And not only that, she provided documented proof of things that were happening with her ectopic pregnancy. Sorry, I just had to stop it because it was getting close to 33 minutes. Actually, it did exceed it. But anyway, so I'll have to try and splice these together. Or if that doesn't work, upload them as 2 parts. So her video about her ectopic pregnancy. And for those of you who don't know what an ectopic pregnancy is, again, there's much more. It's not, obviously, gynecology is not something that I guess a little bit of history. I like studying a lot of stuff, not in terms of school. I hate the modern schooling system. That's another video. I don't know why I keep mentioning stuff. That'll be another video. Cam, shut the hell up. I like studying a lot of things in my free time. Just doing my own research of certain stuff, talking to people who have certain experiences and things. And one of the things I love researching is, obviously, I've shown before, if you can't tell, I fucking love geography and different cultures of the world, but whatever. That's just an example of one thing. But some of the things that I love studying as well is human anatomy and medicine, for the most part. And more specifically, I guess, psychology and neurology, and also the field as well of neuropsychology, which is a blending more so of the two. And So I'm more familiar with that, mainly because it also pertains to a lot of my own health issues that I've been going through, and also a knowledge of just gastroenterology and things like that. I'm more familiar with those three areas, more so. But I do like to research just overall anatomy of things and just get an understanding of it. And though, of course, I'm not a woman, and I don't claim to speak on like the personal experience of women's problems, like in terms of health, and obviously people can do as much as research as possible. And in terms of storytelling, you can try and write a story about someone else's experience, even if you're not part of that. I've done that. There's no guarantee it'll work. That's another video as well. Why am I talking about this? Okay. And obviously you should have the right to do that. Whatever. God, why am I doing this? But it just, quick rundown. If you don't know what an ectopic pregnancy is, I'll explain it in the most bare bones form I can. Again, go watch the videos. They explain it much better, or just go look it up and research it for yourself. An ectopic pregnancy is when the egg that eventually forms the fetus in a woman, or whatever gender you are, in any gender that is able to, of any of these 71 genders that are able to reproduce. I know I'm going to get comments about that, but in any of these 71 genders that are able to reproduce, not just women, in terms of the anatomy of the reproductive system, that reproductive system, I'm just going to label it right now as the female reproductive system because it pertains to a woman's experience. My understanding of, well, after the sperm travels to the ovaries forming the egg, it's supposed to make its way through the fallopian tube, or tract, I guess, down into the uterus and to the wall lining of it, where it can form in a healthy way and form properly. What's supposed to happen is no complications, or very few. An ectopic pregnancy, however, is when the egg gets stuck in the fallopian tube and it's not able to travel down into the uterus, and it starts growing. And that, like, it starts forming an actual fetus. That is severely detrimental. It's not even just severely detrimental. That can be lethal. It is most often lethal. It's fatal. Not just for, it's 100% of the time, at least from what I've researched, it's absolutely 100% fatal to the fetus that is forming. It's almost about 90% fatal to, if it's not treated right away, to the women or whatever other gender that is carrying the fetus, to them. It's extreme. It's like 99% fatal or lethal to them. And Abelina explains her experience with having an ectopic pregnancy in her video. And it is horrifying. Everything she describes and the way she describes it sounds horrifying. Absolutely horrifying. And I remember there's one part of the video that specifically horrified me, but I'm not going to really go into that right now. It was mainly, I'll just say it was where she talked about the technicians. And if you watch the video, you'll know what I mean. Like I don't know what to call the ultrasound technicians. I don't remember if she actually specifically stated it was an ultrasound, but some kind of invasive camera test. But anyway, you're probably wondering, where does Gus Johnson come into play in this? Well, during this whole time, she reveals, he was being extraordinarily actually, emotionally abusive and pretty emotionally manipulative. And this was all happening at like the height of his YouTube career, and in pretty well context as well as Sabrina's YouTube career. This was all happening while a majority of videos, comedy sketches on both her channel and his, were being uploaded. And for as hilarious as so many of those videos are, both on her channel that feature him and on his channel, I still find them bloody hilarious. I went back and rewatched them, and my God, the double meaning of so many of them is just slapping you in the face. Like, a lot of fans like that have now come to terms with this are all just it's, I guess, somewhat of a meme, and I am guilty of leaving a comment like this as well on one of her videos, actually, in a reply section, that this did not age well. I left because again, I very much believe in dark and offensive humor, again, to the right people and your audience, but you should have every right to make whatever jokes you want, say whatever you want. Obviously not going to the length of harming someone, or harassing them. That's why there needs to be an evaluation of that and things like that. But I remember I left a comment in one of the replies of one of her videos, because someone had said a comment that was just, and this was before this was before the news broke with this, and it's just the complete irony of that comment. Wow. I remember I said it was the pretty well purest definition of did not age well. It was unbelievable, really. Like how well these comments predicted something. Like, not predicted, but were able to pretty well silently, I guess the situation. And I'm not saying like there was any sort of conspiracy theories or anything going on like that, but anyway, my point being, though it's hilarious, many of their videos, it's like, especially with Gus's videos, it's just complete and total extreme hypocrisy. And okay, anyway, bottom line is for this, he was extremely emotionally abusive during this time that she was going through all this. Again, I'm not going to go full on and explain her story. Link will be in the description. But this comes into play of, can you separate the art from the artist in this context? Now, I very much, again, believe you can. Okay, this is where I stand. Both as a person, as a content creator, I love Abelina Sabrina. I'm so glad that I found her content. And Abelina, if you ever end up seeing this video at some point, please keep it up. Keep going. There are people that do love you and are here to support you. As for Gus Johnson, over the years, I have saved a lot of his comedy sketches and even his own opinionated videos, like talking point videos that he's done, in my liked videos playlist, me personally, because I've liked the videos. This was before the news broke out. I personally have removed his talking point videos, like where it's just mainly his opinion and not him playing a character. Because again, it's all such just major hypocrisy. And again, I'm not trying to... I know, I'll get into that actually in a second, Cam. I need to focus on what I'm trying to say right now. Again, sorry. I have removed those videos from my playlist. I have kept, however, the skits of his that I do find hilarious. Because, again, I do think they are fantastic pieces of art. And there are ones in there that have Sabrina in them as well. Now, whether she chose to be in those videos or not, I obviously can't fully say. Obviously, with her own channel, that'd be more so of a different story, at least as far as I'm aware. She still kept the videos up and of being with Gus for skits and for just talking point videos. And also just on his channel, she hasn't demanded that he remove any that she was in. So I don't know from this standpoint whether she was forced into it or not. I'm not going to make a guess on that because not enough evidence. So I've kept those. But I have also unsubscribed from his channel. And also me personally, I have unsubscribed from his brother's channel, Sven Johnson, because it doesn't seem like as well that he's taking this situation seriously as well. I remember, at least from what I saw of a comment thread, or at least something on Twitter, again, I don't have Twitter or many other social medias other than certain things, but I do check up on them. Like just through search engines and things like that. And I saw, I believe, on the day that she posted the video about her ectopic pregnancy, he just said some really stupid joke. I'm sorry, again, according to what I've heard, that Abelina is still following Sven on Twitter. Obviously, I don't know the situation full out. Again, I'm not in their own lives. I don't know what she said to him or whatever else. But I tried to find any sort of response that he gave just on it, because it is his brother. And it was just some really lame joke. I'm sorry. Again, I believe that you have every right to make whatever joke you want, because humor of any kind, especially offensive and dark humor, can help heal people's pain and trauma. It can. It's been statistically proven. But just some things I also do think are too soon, and again, that shouldn't be policed on deciding what's too soon or not. But just, I do feel it was too soon. And I've seen so far, he's still been uploading since that video came out with no response. So I just don't feel comfortable right now being subscribed to him. Again, I'm keeping the skits that he's done as well, that Sven has done, in my saved playlist, but I don't feel comfortable being subscribed to them, supporting them in that way. Now, Eddie Burback, I've never subscribed to him before. Again, not because I don't like him or his content or anything. I love a lot of his content. I just don't feel that overall I've seen enough to want to subscribe right now. But I will say, he recently did make a bit more of a response to the whole situation. And I think for the most part it was handled very well. There were some things he could have elaborated on more. But he said he doesn't feel comfortable associating with him right now. The Gus and Eddie podcast has been canceled as of here on out, which I do think is good and a responsible thing to do. And apparently he also made some sort of response on Twitter. I didn't see it. If it was removed, I honestly don't know. I can't find it anywhere. If someone in the comments can tell me where it is, I haven't seen it. I don't know. But then we go back to Gus Johnson. He made after all this came out, and there are people defending Gus on this. Please stop. There's nothing to defend right now. And people are using the argument that he's changed as a person. Now, I fully believe that anyone on the planet can change. I firmly believe that nobody deserves to die. Or, I know that's an odd, morbid topic to bring up. And firmly against capital punishment, the death penalty. I firmly believe in criminal rehabilitation and just trying to rehabilitate people who are very much sick in the head. And if not, then if we aren't able to do that, then provide humane living spaces for them to live out the rest of their days if they're very much clinically insane. But, and again, I don't know why I went on about that. That's another whole video. Like, I'm just bringing out so many different video topics right now for this series, but they will eventually, I guess. They do somewhat bleed into each other. But anyway, people are bringing up the point that Gus has changed as a person. If he has not shown or demonstrated it well at all. The most he gave in terms of an apology to Sabrina for what it seems like to be years of emotional abuse was a short, well, not even, it doesn't have to be overtly long, I guess, but just a simple tweet out. Now, you can apologize for things, even drastic things in writing, I believe. There's no technical form. And I'm going to bring up, again, why I bring up my belief that anyone can change, nobody deserves to die. And at my point about idolization, again, everybody's done things that they regret. I don't care who they are. They might say they have no regrets. Everybody's done things that they regret. I've done things that I regret deeply. I've been an absolute asshole in the past, and I'm an absolute self-centered, manipulative dick, an asshole. And I've been self-centered toward myself, in view of myself. And back when I was younger, I was extremely closed-minded to many different types of people, and especially the LGBTQ+, which pretty ironic because now kind of sexual. So found out. But anyway, but everybody has done things that they regret. Some people, the severity is much higher, some is much lower. And obviously, I'm not going to go into huge personal details, but things that I regret doing are not near as severe as this, obviously. But just, people are bringing up this point that he's changed. And people can, like I said, they can apologize in writing. I've had to do it a few times. I've done it recently. Apologizing through text, which though I prefer to do it in person, I've done it through text. Or if I've been, in some instances, have been in the past a coward, or even recently a coward to people, and just felt I think it's better to write it out so that I don't offend them or make them even more angry. Or because they probably don't want to talk to me, which is absolutely understandable. But anyway, my point being, I'm not going to analyze whether this response was through a video format or through text that Gus gave. The apology was horrendous. It was absolutely the most bare minimum, not even really that, of an apology. It was basically, first off, he started saying that it was very hard on both me and Sabrina, and I've been trying to, this is just me summarizing, I will work hard to become a better person every day and grow as an individual. He even said I will be taking a break from YouTube. Now, if you all know a certain thing that happened with YouTube, which is a horrible decision that they made, was to remove the dislike button from view from the public. And immediately after that happened, right back up. Another video on his channel. That's convenient. But anyway, my point is, it was the most bare bones apology. Again, not even that. And Sabrina responded justly. Like, I feel she was absolutely in the right. She responded with just a short Twitter thread, I believe. Again, I don't know if I'm using the right context of thread there. I don't know Twitter lingo. She responded with, I will not accept an apology. I will not accept an apology that is misleading and full of lies. I do not forgive you. I think that is absolutely the right move to do. That was extremely strong of her and brave of her again. That she's not backing down on that. But again, out of all of this, I bring this up because people will probably tell me, okay, if you're saving those videos in your liked playlist, aren't you still supporting him, like with views and things like that? Technically, yeah. That's where the morality complex comes into it a bit. Like, can send some people into a morality crisis, which I've experienced before, and almost technically with this. Now, do I think financially Gus should pay for this? Pay. I say that pay as if I wish spite upon him. I don't wish horrendous spite upon him again. I think he needs severe psychological help, Gus Johnson. I will say that. But in terms of finances, I'm unsure. Career-wise, yeah, I don't want him to keep uploading videos. And obviously, I don't think YouTube should go right ahead and ban him from uploading videos. That's way too harsh of a policy to enact, and there's ethics towards that, and politics come into that. Where's the justification in policing that? But anyway, if Gus Johnson, if he sees this as well, I would like to say this. Gus, you are very much in mental distress and sick in the head. You need help. And again, I'm not a psychologist by any means, but I do personally study, like, just in my free time, these sorts of things, just from better understanding and things like that, and because I have an interest in them. This seems like some sort of egotist personality disorder with him. Again, I'm not trying to diagnose him. There's quite a few different ego-based personality disorders, or I guess related to mental disorders in certain ways. But bottom line is, you need help. And for you to do that, and just to be respectful to the people who have loved your content for so long, I feel like, it's not even feel like you should. You need to step away. Actually go away from YouTube for a long, long time and reflect on yourself and get yourself help. You treated Sabrina so severely, horribly. I'd honestly go as far, it is very disturbing. It really is. I would actually go, you know what, and this might sound a bit drastic, I'd go as far as saying that this situation is just as bad, if not possibly somewhat worse, than the Louis C.K. situation. Now, I know people will probably refute me on that, and the worst than part is, yeah, I can see probably maybe not worse than. You could probably definitely refute me on that. But just as bad, maybe it's a bit over the top for me to say, but I don't right now think so. I think it could justify as being just as bad as the Louis C.K. situation. Because he's just horrible. She could have died during this whole period. Like, there's a part of the video where, for fuck's sake, man, she talked about they discovered her having internal bleeding for 5 days. Internal bleeding for even so much, depending on the wound, for even so much as an hour can kill someone instantly. After enough blood has left, obviously. Has left the circulation, like in terms of your veins. Like the circulatory system, but... oh my God. So if Gus Johnson sees this, please leave YouTube. Now, in terms, again, I'm not trying to, if anyone else watching this, I'm not trying to determine in this stance of morality and ethics. Again, obviously, I hold strong opinions on certain things, and I can get opinionated on how society works, how I feel things should be run in terms of government and things like that, or just my own thoughts on it in general. And obviously, opinions can change, but I'm not going to obviously tell you just don't watch his stuff. With the save stuff, I am going to possibly once in a while obviously watch it. And there's just too much to go back, and I'm right now lazy shit. I've got too much going on. I'm not going to go all the way back through years and years of content in the playlist and just remove every single little one, just to find every single little one and remove it. I've removed his talking point videos, but that's much easier to do than every single little skit he's posted. So it's your choice in that terms, whether you want to support him on that or not. But I do feel he needs to leave. Now, I'd leave it up to Gus, obviously, if he wants to delete his channel or just step away for a while. Obviously, I'm not going to say, please, oh, please keep it up to keep the great skits and content that you had on there up so that we can enjoy it and separate the art from you. That's obviously a moral decision that Gus has to make, whether he wants to keep that up, the channel up, or not. As of right now, the channel being up, if you want to watch his content of skits, it's perfectly fine, in my opinion. Obviously, there is some support financially going into there. But it's a complex situation, and I don't have all the answers for that, to solve every little thing for that, obviously. So that's my stance on the Gus Johnson situation. So in terms of separating the art from the artist with that and idolization, there are so many people who have clearly idolized Gus and are jumping to his defense, even though there's really nothing to defend here. Like, it's not even at this point. Like, even when Abelina first posted the video, it's not even a discussion really at all. It's not a discussion at all. Like, if it's just allegations. These aren't just allegations. There is concrete evidential? No. There's concrete evidence. Like, concrete proof that he did this and that this event happened. She provided medical documents. For fuck's sake. And not only that, Gus literally just admitted it himself in that horrible Twitter post. He just flat out admitted it. Like, he was being vague as well, and she was too. She didn't mention his name, obviously out of confidentiality or trying to be confidential. In the video, she mentioned former ex-boyfriend, but obviously with the timestamps and things that were posted in the video, it doesn't take a genius to figure it out. But, and again, that's not a knock on her at all. I'm just saying, just in general, obviously the fans and people in the community were able to figure it out. But so in terms of people supporting Gus Johnson, you really can't deny what he did at this point. And in terms of separating the art from the artist, it's tricky. Because again, you can enjoy the content that he's made, again with Sabrina as well, because they've collabed for skits. But also with the way YouTube system works and how it determines pay for people and making income, views do, as well to an extent, count, for the most part, actually do count quite a lot. So it's tricky. And again, I don't have all the answers. That's why I'm making this video. If anyone has thoughts they'd like to share on possible things to do in this situation, what if they're were a fan of his, what they plan on doing with this knowledge in the future, or whatever else. But anyway, that's the issue of his side, like the issue with Gus Johnson right now. And this video is getting quite long, so I was planning on maybe going into depth with, I said I was going to bring up 3 examples, but guess that didn't completely work out right now. I guess I'll briefly bring them up and then maybe do a video on them in the future. Or, you know what, let's just see. I gotta redo the footage again in a sec, so let's just see. So that was the whole thing with Gus Johnson. Now, another instance where I've separated the art from the artist, or I guess I'll put 2 into place, is I'm sure there are many of you out there who are aware of a band called Fall Out Boy. Fall Out Boy is one of my all-time favorite bands. More so their older stuff than their newer stuff, but again, difference of opinion. There are people who like their newer stuff too. And I do like a lot of their newer stuff, quite a lot. There's some things in the newer stuff that I absolutely love, song-wise and lyrical writing. And I think just the 4 members of the band, Patrick Stump, Pete Wentz, Joe Troman, and Andy Hurley are lyrical geniuses and musical geniuses as well, just instrumentally and everything. But there's a problem again with that. So to briefly summarize again, and many people actually aren't aware of this, so this is why I think I might do a video on this in the future to get more people aware. Pete Wentz has been in some hefty shit over the years. He used to be a very, very toxic person, or at least this is before I knew this. I used to think he was a very toxic dick. But over the years, and especially after the hiatus, I thought he had changed. Like, he had grown as a person and changed a lot of his behavior. He was still a lyrical genius, in my opinion, but absolute dick in the earlier years of the band. But then I thought, okay, it seems he's changed. Good. And I tolerated the fact that the other band members seemed to tolerate his toxicity early on. Again, all right. Again, if you're friends with someone, it's very hard to, in certain instances, see them in a bad light. But what can you do? Okay, obviously, there's a lot you can do, but I'm just speaking in general in terms of humanity, how most people function. But then I found out about something to do with, oh God, what's her name? Janine? Her name begins with a J. Janine White. I know her last name was White. And again, I'm not going to go summarizing again, like the whole specifics of this. I might do a video on in the future. Who knows? With Pete Wentz and all that, you can look it up for yourself again. It's pretty, there's barely anyone who talks about this, but there's a lot of proof that it happened. That he was in a relationship with her way back before, and even as the band was together when it started. They got into a relationship when she was 15, and he was 23 years old. Now, legally, in terms of American laws, that is statutory rape. If there were, and there's counts of sexual intercourse from her as well in discussions that she had on a podcast. I'll link the podcast. I think I should probably, if I remember, I'll link the podcast here, or I'll save it for a possible future video. But it's really not hard to find. Just type in Janine White or Pete Wentz as well, podcast with Janine White. He wasn't on it, but she was talking about rehabilitation, things like that. Finding peace and all that, and her experience with him. She didn't mention him by name, but again, similar to the Gus Johnson situation, you don't really need to be a genius to figure it out. And now people will bring in the morality of legal age of consent. Is there, who's to decide morality on that? I disagree heavily. Even for a career choice that I've changed my mind on for certain things, which I will have an announcement on at the end of this video. I heavily disagree on that. I firmly believe, just scientifically speaking, in terms of psychological and physical health for hormone-wise, our bodies are still developing way until we're about 22. I firmly believe, personally, like in terms of legalities and government, you shouldn't, the legal age of consent for having sex with someone beyond 2 years of age, for you, like beyond 2 years of age, like far beyond 2 years, you having sex, I said that wrong, you having sex with someone who is beyond 2 years of age, to your age, should be raised everywhere, in my opinion, to 22 years old. Now, some places are close to that, like with, it's South Korea has it's South Korea. South Korea has an age of consent of 20. Again, not 22, but it's closer. An age of consent that extends to beyond 2 years. And Bahrain, in the Middle East, has an age of consent of 21. Again, for beyond 2 years. I don't know about close in age range exception for Bahrain. I know a bit about the close in age range exception for South Korea, but either way, it's closer to 22. So there's that. Obviously, I also am for, though, a close in age range exception, because let's face it, hormones kick in when you're around puberty, adolescence. Teenagers will have sex. Okay, it's obvious. Teenagers will have sex with each other. I do think there should be a close in age range exception, but it shouldn't be for anyone beyond 2 years of your age, or say if you're in the middle at 15 years old, it shouldn't be for anyone beyond 2 years younger than you. And if you're 13, which I think it should, 13 or 14 should start at, the beyond 2 years less than you shouldn't even apply, because that can, obvious rounds of detrimental pedophilia, obviously. But anyway, that's a whole nother video. Getting into that, the politics and efficacy of all that. But in terms of just the whole situation with Pete Wentz, societally speaking, and possibly psychologically, that can constitute as pedophilia, very much. And it's, I know the difference, pedophilia is a mental disorder. There are people trying to claim it's not. It is. Psychologically speaking, obviously, a person of an older age having sexual thoughts, just simply sexual thoughts about people in their teen years, is not psychological pedophilia. That's been proven statistically. And now, obviously, don't take that out of context. I'm not at all for, I just said I'm not at all for anyone below 22 years of age and in between the ages 13 and 22 being able to have sex with someone beyond 2 years older than them. That is completely, I'm not for that at all. And I firmly believe that should be a law put in place to stop pedophilia. But, and again, I'm, in terms of societal standards, just legally, having sex, at least in terms of Canadian law, with someone under the age of 18, and you're far beyond that age, say a 30-year-old having sex with a 17-year-old or a 16-year-old, that is legally pedophilia. And that could constitute psychologically some pedophilic tendencies. But just psychologically, if you just have those thoughts purely about teenagers, not committing the act, just having the thought, there's nothing psychologically wrong with you. Obviously, for anyone below that, say 12 or younger, yes, then that is psychological pedophilia, and there is something definitely wrong with you, and you would need mental help for that. And if you are having tendencies to want to do the act towards someone in their teen years as well, instead of just having the thought and getting to a point where you're becoming obsessive and it's becoming a problem, borderlining on legal pedophilia, that you need help for, you need to seek help. Anyway, little bit of a psychology lesson there. Again, don't take that out of context. I stated what I feel about the law, that it should, age of consent for anyone beyond 2 years older than you should be 22, like at the least, or at the very least 21. But anyway, there are multiple articles that you can find recounting their relationship together. And if you just piece together the timeline, it really does fit. It's not really so much more allegations. Pete Wentz hasn't talked about this at all, at least as far as I can find. I've scoured the internet. I cannot find... He's mentioned her in interviews before. I can't find, though, however, I cannot find any interview where he obviously fails to mention the fact that they got together when she was 15 years old. And he was 23. Failed to mention that. Now, there are people saying that he's changed. And I got into a whole argument with another social media thing I have is Amino. And I got into a whole argument. I got myself actually almost kicked out of the Fall Out Boy Amino. I just left. I left because I didn't want to deal with all this. Because I tried to make people aware of it. And I tried to make people aware of it on certain other aminos relating to that community, like Panic at the Disco, 21 Pilots. Just that we really can't ignore that situation. But that post got taken down on the Fall Out Boy community because you know what? A lot of the Fall Out Boy community is very much obsessive fanboys and girls. Just stans. But bottom line is, people are saying that he's changed. The people who do believe that it happened and can clarify that it happened. Some of them believe he's changed. I was more inclined to believe that before, but now I don't know. And this is where I bring it up, where it's, again, separating the art from the artist, because do I think Pete Wentz, bottom line, do I think Pete Wentz has changed? I don't know. Because if you look at his other relationships throughout his career, and again, I usually wouldn't be nitpicking this. Again, if you're beyond 22 years of age, your body has fully matured at around that point for most people, scientifically speaking, anatomy-wise, in terms of hormones, and most people's psychological states. Well, okay, again, that also depends, but mental states and mentalities have fully matured at around that age. Again, this is me speaking as an 18-year-old, so, again. But, and obviously, people mentally mature at different rates, but that doesn't constitute anything in terms of sexual intercourse. Firmly believe it should be 22 for beyond 2 years. But anyway, I usually wouldn't nitpick this, but because there are members even that people in my life that I know who are vast age difference, and they're married, but they live healthy, active lives, sexually and just romantically in general. And there are people who obviously have multiple sex partners or are in polygamous relationships and obviously can function well. And I'm completely for polygamy and everything like that. Another video topic later, but the reason I actually know people in my life who are 17 years apart who are married. But the reason I bring up his other relationships is that there seems to be a pattern with who he dates. And it seems that majority of people he's either gotten in a relationship with or now married, gotten engaged to, have been quite drastically differentiating in age range. Like, very much not close to his own age. Now, again, I wouldn't be nitpicking that if not given the fact that he was in a relationship with a 15-year-old at the age of 23. If not for that fact, I really would not be nitpicking that. But as of now, given that information, as well as the pattern with his other relationships, it seems he may have a type. And not a good type at that. So in terms of separating the art from the artist with Pete Wentz, I very much do. I personally have unsubscribed from Fall Out Boy's YouTube channel. Because, again, though, I've kept the like videos of theirs, like the music videos that they've uploaded and things like that. Because, as well as for this, with their content, it's much different than, say, Gus Johnson's, where it was very much just him himself uploading and creating content. Like, not very much involving other cast and crew. However, with Fall Out Boy's content in the studio and recording sessions and also just in making music videos and things like that, it's a whole crew, a whole set, involves a multitude of people, and you supporting their work is also technically supporting them as well financially, because they also damn well worked really hard to create that art. And they deserve fair compensation, or at least as fair as it can be in fucking capitalist society. But they deserve, in my opinion at least, fair compensation. Because they worked hard on it too. So yes, I very much heavily separate the art from the artist in terms of Fall Out Boy. But there also, it does make it a little bit harder to listen to certain song lyrics of theirs. Givenly, say on songs like I've Got All This Ringing in My Ears, but None on My Fingers. What's the other one? Oh, God. God, I'm blanking on the name. For fuck's sake, it's one of my favorite songs by them. Disloyal Order of Water Buffaloes, that's another one. It makes it a lot harder to listen to that. And also Thanks for the Memories, but I don't even like that song by them, so I don't really listen to it. But even so, regarding those, it makes it slightly harder to listen to. Slightly. And yes, why I've unsubscribed from their channel is because if they were in... Well, excuse me. Sorry about that. Okay, that provided some comic levity. In terms of that whole relationship that he was in with the 15-year-old Janine White, again, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing the name, it's very clear that the other members knew. I find it incredibly hard to believe that they did not know at some point. Now, in terms of the bands that they've associated with, like my favorite band, personally, Panic at the Disco, or one of my other favorite bands, 21 Pilots, other bands like that, even Weezer, they are friends with them, it seems, but obviously from what I've seen, or Paramore as well, another one of my favorite bands, they're off the hook for now. Because it doesn't seem that they know any sort of thing to do with it. Now, obviously, Panic at the Disco's had their own issues with sexual harassment, sexual assault. Like, well, no, what am I saying? Sexual assault. Well, actually, yeah, they've had allegations against Brendan Urie with sexual assault, which, thank God, were proven false. They were. And he responded to it. Brendan Urie did. He's fired Zach, his bodyguard. And I'm just going to say this, in terms of how Panic at the Disco, like Brendan Urie and Hayley Williams of Paramore and their other band members have handled controversies and allegations, things like that in the past, they have shown that they take actual responsibility for their fans and also their band members. So I find it hard to believe that they know anything about this. But in terms of the other members of Fall Out Boy, Patrick Stump, Andy Hurley, Joe Troman, it's kind of clear that they do know. It seems very clear. I find it hard to believe. And another thing that people are bringing up who believe that the relationship between Miss White and Mr. Pete Wentz happened, they bring up the fact that, maybe she lied about her age and things like that. Okay, they were in a relationship for 5 years. I also find that drastically hard to believe that you were able to lie to your partner for so long, and your partner was so incompetent that they didn't bother to actually check out any possible certification of your birth or age, or finding out from anyone else that you knew your real age. I find that very, very, very hard to believe. Very hard. Like, that's borderline, like, borderline plausible. Borderline. In some wild, extravagant context. But I find it very hard to believe. But anyway, in terms of that, I separate the art from the artist with that. Your choice to separate the art from the artist from that as well. God, I really got to wrap this up soon because I've got to get going soon. And there are a multitude of other things that I separate the art from the artist on. And again, I brought up a third example. I was going to bring up H.P. Lovecraft, one of my favorite authors, who have actually been working on possible adaptation. I've been adapting his works into writings in my games to possibly make one day, as well as another certain author that I'm not going to mention right now because it might spoil it. But I love his work. But if you know anything about H.P. Lovecraft, he was blatantly racist, extremely racist. Like, quite racist even for his time. And a nationalist to quite a lot of extent, and beliefist. He was very much a lot of ists. Very discriminatory, very bigoted views, very xenophobic. But his work, majority of it, especially in the Cthulhu universe, I think is masterful and amazing horror. Like, the stories themselves, not just the horror he inspired, the fear of the unknown, but the stories themselves I love. And people bring up the fact that, his stories are rooted in his racism. Not all of them are. Some of them, yes. But a majority of the Cthulhu universe actually really isn't. Now, again, other works of his outside of that universe are Horror at Red Hook. Sorry about that. But I've actually done a little test. Well, not a test. Just for my own enjoyment of the reading, I want to, especially with my trying to adapt his stuff into games, I want to prove that you can do his stories and remove the racism, like just the blatant, and it's not like his racism had anything to do with the story, like say in like a socio-political context trying to create some sort of message, even if it was a bigoted message. It's just blatant, like, spitting on people of different racial groups or cultures. But I have actually, in a version of the book I have, of a collection of his stories, I've actually crossed out and removed the spiteful, hated bits. And it actually, I'm not going to read them to you now. I was going to possibly for a demonstration. But the story actually flows, this in the terms of the context of the Call of Cthulhu and also the Whisper in Darkness and things like that. The story does flow extremely well without those bits. They flow incredibly well without it, actually. I'm glad that I've removed those, because the story is much better without it. You can enjoy it. Actually enjoy it without those bits in it. And you can make and again, I'm open to discussion about H.P. Lovecraft and things about that, and things like that. But my bottom line is with this. You can separate the art from the artist. It's very much possible. But there's also context in contextualizing the art with the artist. Like, for example, idolization of someone as well can work in the opposite way. Somebody, in separating the art from the artist, it could also work for somebody who's a really great person, but creates completely crap art. Or at least in your opinion, really bad art. Like, for example, M. Night Shyamalan. I hate, or just think it's down like a lot of his movies, a lot of M. Night Shyamalan's writing, story writing, and just storytelling and film and all that is really bad. Just bad, terrible, terrible films. Minus The Sixth Sense, which really, I honestly think The Sixth Sense is just good, personally. It's not anything fantastic. But, and I think there's a game that did the plot twist way better. But, anyway, there's, okay, what I'm going with that. M. Night Shyamalan, though, as a person, from what I've seen of him, I think he's a really great guy. He's done a lot of work, I've heard as well, for charities and things like that, donations and things like that, and also just being a genuinely nice guy to his fans and people around him in his life. A lot of his films are also inspired by just stories, random stories he would tell his children, apparently. He seems like a genuinely nice, great guy, but he just makes bad art. He makes really bad art. And that's entirely possible too. So you can separate the art from the artist in that way, in a reverse type of context, where I'm separating the fact that he's a great person, but he makes crap art. The art, though, the bad art isn't defining him, though. He's not a bad person or an evil person by any means for making this terrible art. Even if it was the most heinous, offensive, appalling art out there, he could still be a fantastic, nice guy who just keeps, unfortunately, not striking out on making any good content. That's entirely possible. Okay, so I've got to wrap this up soon. Right now, actually. And then I've got to say a quick announcement. And then I'll get more into that in a different video. But, hold on a second. Okay. Sorry, I just had to pause that for a second. Her noise is out there. In terms of idolization of people, you really should stop if you are idolizing somebody, whoever they may be, or whatever, even an ideology that you may have. Because you don't know their full lives. You don't know everything about them. But you can admire them as people from what they've shown of themselves, but you have to realize it only goes so far. And with an ideology or philosophy, you don't have to agree with absolutely everything it says. And you can form your own spin on things. Like, I've formed kind of my own spin on things, I guess, with my views of libertarian communism and things like that. Or just other philosophies as well. Kantianism, Immanuel Kant, I can't really pronounce that completely correctly. John Rawls' beliefs on things like that. Anyway, so, and you can separate the art from the artist. In many instances, it's better to as well, because as one of my favorite YouTubers actually said, T1J, he's more likely to separate the art from the artist so that he doesn't take the chance of every single thing that he loves getting ruined for him, which is absolutely understandable. Okay, so that was my overall thing with this. Now for the quick announcement. It might be a little weird, considering some of the context of this video. I mentioned in my last video that my main goal with this channel is to entertain, obviously, and try and create interesting ideas for people to elaborate on, or just get talking about sharing their opinions and thoughts, possibly new perspectives with this series, and just to make people laugh as well, with trying to make people laugh with the attempts at comedic sketches I do. Again, I don't think any of my videos are good so far at all. I've never been fully happy with any of them, but that's the drive of it, so keep working at it. But I said in my last TooMuchTalkingTwink video that my main goal for the future is to become a video game writer. And it is. Still is. That's still my top absolute main priority in terms of career choice. Working on that very excessively. I've got actually my own little plan to get that done before a certain time of the year. I'm trying to create 19 games plots that I need to write out. Try and get them all done by the end of the year. Obviously, I don't want to rush it, or it could turn out complete crap or not very good. So if that goal extends a bit, I don't know. But I'm still working at that. But there's another career choice that I've also wanted to do for a long time. And I'll explain this more in a video that I will have in this first segment later on. And that is, as well as writing video games, adult film acting, or sex work, specifically pornographic acting, and I guess writing. Now, you might think, what? Why would you want to do that? That's dirty, that's weird, that's pervasive. And obviously, yes, there are good sides to it, there are bad sides to it. To all things, there are good sides and bad sides. I'll get more into my discussion of ethics to do with pornography and things like that, and sexual entertainment. In that video that I make, I'm going to try, though for now, to my next video is going to be in the series about difference of opinion, which will pertain to that line of work as well. And then after that, about maybe chronic health issues in the series that I deal with. And then talk about the pornographic industry and sexual entertainment, and the good sides of it, the downsides to it, for both the actors and for the viewer as well. Talk about people possibly becoming sex addicts, which is real, coming from someone who wants to be in the industry. And more so doing my own stuff, I more so want to do camboy stuff. Again, not a play on my name, but webcam type things, my own solo things. And then possibly bring in people along the way, not work with studios that much. I'll explain my plan more in that video. But people need help if they have sex addiction, obviously. But there are good sides to it as well, such as sexual stimulation, relaxing, increase egalitarian views, help people in more sex-conservative countries get somewhat of an idea of better sex, although most of pornography is fictional. There is, though, educational porn out there. I'm sorry to tell you that, but there is. A lot of it is actually, those few bits of educational porn are actually better than 90% that is taught in the sexual education in modern-day schooling all over the world. Which, again, I will get into all that in my views on that sort of thing and how I think it should be legalized in government, things like that. And again, I've already talked about my view on age of consent and all that. And obviously, this means I'm for sex work, obviously. I support sex workers, porn actors, the pornographic industry, strip dancers, prostitution, I also support. Obviously, all within ethical terms and legal terms, nothing detrimental to somebody. And obviously, like I said, there's good and bad effects to it as well. But does the good outweigh the bad? I think the good overall does outweigh the bad in many of the contexts. And just anyway, I will get into all that more later on. But this is just an announcement as well. That's another career choice I have as well, to be a video game writer and a pornographic actor. That won't be happening for possibly quite a few while, maybe a few more months. I want to get that video of my talking point about it out first, just to get some context to it. And then after that, I'm definitely going to make a video on my beliefs of communism and my stance on it. Oh boy. Great. Yeah. Lord. But in the meantime as well, along with making those videos, I'm going to be trying to upload more skits to get them done. I don't know if I'm going to be releasing another skit tonight or possibly in the coming days. Again, my health right now, it's iffy. So I'll try. And yeah, there was a skit I was planning on uploading, but I recently deleted the footage for it because it got way too long. I'd recorded some of the footage for it like 2 months ago, and my hair, if I had done it now, like continuity error would have been like right in your face of my hair, and I'm also just not cutting my hair for it. So there's that. So yeah, I've got to get going. I've got to get going to some meeting. So yeah, I'm sorry if this video offended anyone. Again, go cry about it on Twitter if you really hate it that much, or try and discuss it in a civil manner, civilized way. Just create a discussion of some kind in the comments. Obviously, when I say all this stuff, everybody gets angry from time to time, and everyone has a right to get angry in certain contexts, obviously. I don't believe that you should just be a pushover on absolutely everything, but anyway, I'm sorry if that statement as well, me about the porn industry or being a pornographic actor, offended anyone, but me saying I want to be a video game writer can also offend people as well. Honestly, anything can offend people nowadays, so take that the way you may. Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this. I'll see you later. Yeah. Hopefully this was of some interest to you and it'll get you thinking about some things. Okay, bye.